Howdy, howdy, howdy. A good Monday evening to y'all. It's the most favorite time of the year. Oh, Big Brother. I figured out we're going to be talking a lot of Big Brother because that's all I do. I watch Big Brother. I watch the live feeds. I go to work. I watch Big Brother, watch the live feeds. Now, you notice there's no sleeping involved in there yet. It's been a crazy time of the year, but I'm loving every bit of it. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Before we go any further, a big old SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love the reality fans out there. I especially love the Big Brother reality fans. And even more so, you guys that are out here watching live or watching on replay. A special heartfelt shout out to all of y'all. I appreciate the support so much. I truly do. And with that being said, I will just say it now. Maybe I'll say it then too. But if you haven't already subscribed, if you haven't turned on your notifications, if you haven't gone out there and hit that little thumbs up, I appreciate all three of them. Just because I talk about Big Brother every single morning with my morning feeds recaps. If you got your notifications turned on, you'll find out as soon as I drop those episodes. And there's no telling when I'm going to drop them because these house guests never sleep. Oh my gosh, they're driving me crazy. It's incredible. All right, let's see what's going on out there. Let me check in and see who all we've got out here because I see all kinds of comments floating across. We'll get to those, but first I want to just say hello to everyone. Marilyn Sutherland. Hey, Marilyn, how are you? Amanda Lowe, Kitchen Gadget Queen. There's got to be some history behind that name. Cindy Howard. All right, let's just stop for just a second. Cindy won the auction for my 15-minute Zoom call, benefiting the most incredible organization, Give the Kids a World Village. They allow sick kids and their families a week-long free trip to see all the sites in Orlando and everything else. It's incredible charity. So happy to be associated with it. I'll be participating again next December. But as part of that, I'm doing some fundraising, and Cindy won the auction. So tomorrow, she and I are going to talk. It's going to be Cindy Hire Notes Live. And here's the thing. Y'all know I like to talk, right? It was auctioned off as a 15-minute phone call. With Cindy, I have a feeling I'm going to tire her out of talking before she but she's going to get tired of listening to me talk long after those 15 minutes. Y'all know me. I talk away. So Cindy, thank you. I'm so looking forward to the conversation tomorrow. It's going to be so much fun. All right, let's see. Jake the Horror Movie Geek. Hey, Jake, how are you doing? Bing Bong out there as well. Brian Hosteller. Brian, how are you, my friend? Mark Taylor as well. Maureen Carroll. Angie Hung. Paula Scott. All my friends. I see y'all's names out here every single week, and I hope y'all understand just how cool it makes me feel. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. George Vlogs. Holly A. I knew a Holly A. I was in a house with a Holly A. Been there, done that. Xmas Games, Kate Russell. Ma is angry. Ma, I thought you were off at band camp. I hope you didn't sneak away somewhere to watch this thing. KDR, Maureen Carroll. I think I might have said Maureen, but I don't mind saying it again. Lori Madsen. Hi, fellow Texan. Well, howdy, neighbor. Let's see. And Julia Shepard, Rob Gegner, Robert Johnson. And that may be about it. Silveria 920. I'm not going to forget you or Andy W. either. And with that, I hope I made it through all the names. Welcome to all of y'all. It's pretty cool. I assume if y'all are out here watching and participating in this show, you're probably Big Brother fans, right? I hope so, because if not, you may not as we're going to talk a lot about Big Brother tonight. What are y'all thinking? We're day 27 now? I think my recap this morning was night 26. So we're just a few days short of 4 weeks inside that house. Is that not incredible? It blows me away how quickly this thing has gone. You think about those house guests. Now we're counting day 26. They're on day 37 or so, probably for sequester and everything else. They've been away from family for a long time. They've got everything is focused on playing the game itself. Some are playing it better than others, right? It's always fun to see who kind of shines through, who finds that inner reserve to play just a little bit longer, a little bit more, and we're seeing that. And who doesn't understand that Big Brother is a marathon that they flame out because they are playing the game absolutely so hard. And I think we got a few of those in the house as well, right? So, all right, let's see. Let me talk about a few of these comments as we go through, because I don't want this just to be me talking. I want to get y'all's thoughts. I want to find out what y'all think is going well, what's not going so well in the season. What do you like? What do you not like? I've got Mark Taylor saying, will Daniel make it to the Final Four? Man, Mark, I think the big question is Daniel even going to make it to jury, right? I think if we count correctly, there's probably, assuming that it works like most seasons, there's probably 3 more slots to be filled of non-jury members. And who's that going to be? I mean, we've got the people. If you had to vote, I would think that Nicole or Alyssa or Daniel could be people that could get out pretty quick. But it depends on who wins the HOH, right? I personally think that Daniel, I don't think a lot of people want Daniel in jury, but I have a feeling he'll probably sneak in. I think he's going to be one of the first people in the jury house. I think. I don't think he'll last much longer than that. There are times where I watch Daniel play, and it seems like he's got everything so figured out in terms of watching people who are interacting with each other, trying to figure out who's plotting against who and all that. And I think, all right, well, yeah, the leftovers. All right, he figured out the leftovers. He used his little Chinese checkers set, figured it out. And then he just throws something out that's so harebrained that it makes me wonder. But that's the hard thing about being in that house. You are working on such limited information. And I went through the same thing. You get little bits of information and your brain just tries to fill in the rest of the pieces of the puzzle to figure it out. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're completely wrong. Daniel's maybe hitting 50-50 or so far, right? It's kind of interesting. Now, let me say that maybe I do need to say this more so even than my morning recaps. For those of you who are trying to just watch the episodes, don't want to see spoilers listed, I'm sorry, but there are going to be spoilers mentioned tonight because I was getting ready to talk about even some stuff that happened this afternoon, and I don't want to ruin Big Brother for any of you. So if that's the case, that's one of the reasons I have this on live replay, so you can come back and watch it a little bit later, because I'm going to talk about things that happened since the episode that we saw last night, since the, what was that, the HOH that we saw played last night. Speaking of, we'll talk about that in a second. What a cool HOH I thought that was. So if you're not wanting spoilers, here's your big old spoiler alert right now. If I had a big old siren going off, I'd turn it on, sound effects or whatever. Just trust me. I'm going to be throwing out some spoilers. But yeah, I think Daniel makes it in the jury, but I think he just barely squeaks by. He may be like Jack from my season. He's the first one in there. He gets to spend a week all by himself and hanging out before the people start showing up. Now, here's a little question for you. And I don't mean to be salty about anyone in the cast. Y'all know me. I try to be positive, and I'll continue to try to do that. But if you had to pick the first person to go to the jury house, who would it be? They make it to jury. Yeah, they'll make the vote and all that. But who would you want to see maybe as the first one into the jury house that just has to hang around there for a week by themselves? I'm kind of thinking I'd like to see how Jasmine does. If Jasmine is voted out, the very first person to go to jury, and she just has to sit there all by her lonesome, I don't know how she does. Oh, well, after a week in the jury house, will she still have her little scooter, or will she have figured out how to make those feet walk again? I don't know. It would be curious to see. Jasmine's another one. I actually do see her maybe getting booted right around jury first or second jury pick, maybe. You think? I mean, it's I could see that. All right, let's see. Robert Johnson, new guy here from Louisville, Texas, fighting farmers. Robert, welcome aboard. Actually, when I played high school football, we played Louisville one time. Just as a little FYI, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. Louisville High School, your fight song is the same fight song as the Texas A&M Aggies, my college, I think. So, well, welcome, neighbor. Glad to have you on board. Thank you so much. Tommy Savage, do you think Brittany is hypnotizing the house? And yeah. Well, you know, I thought Brittany maybe was not destined to a long time in the game with that, but I don't know. There are definitely some powerful personalities in the house. Call it hypnotizing, call them just powerful. Between Brittany, Paloma, Nicole, there are people where they just stare at the screen, and I feel like there's a little extra magic going on sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. Brittany, I can't remember who it was that told her. Maybe Kyle. had told Brittany at one point, said, you'd make a great therapist. I think you do fantastic at it. So I watched Brittany when she didn't call it therapy, hypnotherapy. She called it meditation or something. But I watched her, it's been a week or so, where she did it for the whole house and had them all laying there, I don't know, walking down a staircase or, doing something like they do in hypnosis type stuff. And it's pretty cool, except for Terrence snoring. She really put him under deep. She probably put me under pretty deep as well. I can see me doing exactly the same thing, but I don't know. Brittany's done okay, right? I just feel like sometimes she plays so hard that people get a little irritated with her. She's almost like a little housefly that every once in a while you say, just stop. I get it. I know you're trying to get on board and all that, but just stop. So I do think sometimes she plays a little harder than she needs to, but she's figured out how to align with some people. She's become less of a threat strategically in the house, maybe a little bit of a threat. It just seems like it's a personal thing sometimes against Brittany. No one feels really this super attachment to her, but no one really feels like there's this huge motivation to get her out either. I think Brittany's going to last, I don't know, till probably 5 or 6. I don't think she makes it to the very end, unless she and Michael just turn it on. And then who knows? I mean, she's compared herself and Michael to myself and Nicole, and I feel honored and complimented that they're trying to maybe play some of the same game that we played. Hopefully they play just a little bit better, because I'd love to see them get to the very end. But yeah, Brittany's kind of surprised me based on her video, her preseason interview, where everything was filmed just like this, zoomed in close. I thought, oh, she's going to be so different and unique that she'll never make it. Well, she's doing all right. I always cheer for her when I see her on there. And it's funny because people have different ways of handling stress. We've seen people. Some people get upset. Some people get paranoid. Some people just go off on their own and have little cry sessions. That's kind of what Brittany's done. Every once in a while, she just has to back off, gather her thoughts, get away from everything, and move on. So everyone handles it differently in there. All right, Zachary Weiss, excited to see you at Hearts of Reality in December. I'm so excited to be going. This season has flown by. It's been interesting to see how quickly the strategy has been moving. Yeah, I know it. It's been quick, right? I was so worried that we were just going to have that, whether it was Poe's Pack Alliance or Girls. I was afraid we were going to have this big alliance that was just going to steamroll. And we may still get that. We've got this Leftovers Alliance. It seems like if they don't start playing too cute, I think they could do well, at least for another 3-4 weeks or so. But yeah, I got to say, the twist inside Big Brother, what do y'all think about this besties twist? I guess that's what they call it. Festies. I don't know. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The duo twist. Do y'all like it or do you not like it? Because the first twist they had, the backstage twist, that was a complete flop, right? That did not work. Whoever came up with that one, I hope they're in charge of, I don't know, fixing the ants in the house or something going forward. You don't want that because they'll do it even worse. But yeah, the first twist didn't work at all. But this duo twist, when I first heard it, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I hate for my game to be so dependent sometimes on someone else's game. I didn't like the Battle of the Block, and any twist that kind of links you up with someone else, I get a little nervous about. But having said that, now that we've seen a couple of weeks of it, or at least a week, we're getting ready to see a second week, I kind of like the way it changes up the strategy. It's and now one thing it's done because of the fact that you only have one team that's picked to play in the veto competition, and because the people on the block, the duo, if either one of them wins veto, they both get to come off the block. It's set up for a lot more blindsides and a lot more movement off that block than we see in a normal Big Brother season, right? I mean, that's why we keep seeing these blindsides over and over again. Why would you ever volunteer to be a pawn going up on the block when you've seen blindsides taking place for the last 2 weeks in a row? And I'm talking to you, Nicole. I guess I could be talking to Taylor as well, but yeah, don't go on the block when it's so easy for someone to vote you out the door the way it seems like it's been going so far. But yeah, I've kind of liked the twist. Now, I don't want this twist to go on forever. I'm good with maybe after this week, maybe one more week. If they want to extend it into jury, then okay, do that. Once they get to jury, shut this thing down. Let everyone play their individual game. Let everyone be exposed. at that point in time. So I don't want it to last forever. But for right now, it certainly has made it a lot more interesting, hasn't it? It's been fun so far. So let's see what else. Sydney Castle, who is your winner pick? I don't know. I was thinking about that. Who did I pick preseason as opposed to who now I think is going to win this thing? I think preseason, I had said that the two people that I really thought maybe were going to get to the very end were Nicole and Monty. I threw those two up. I thought they had the potential to get there. I'm not throwing that up anymore. I think Monty still will do okay. I don't think he's going to get that far. I think the leftover lines is not going to last forever. It's going to eventually, the other side's going to get power at some point, and you can't always stay insulated. At some point, I think people are going to want to take Monty out. So I don't think he'll make it that far. If my winner's pick right now, kind of like Kyle, and I really like Joseph. I watched Joseph. Now, they're the leftover alliance, right? There's 7 of them that are all working together, and they're all equal partners, supposedly. But sometimes you just see natural leadership come out. And I saw that last night in the way that Joseph he's like the general in a war or something. Joseph, they were back at the hammock area, and then I think they were upstairs in the HOH room. Joseph, a few times last night, was saying, look, we need to do this. We need to talk to these people. Y'all need to go do this. And it just seemed like Joseph, one, he has a really good handle on the game, it seems like. 2, everyone is starting to respect his gameplay within the alliance, and they're starting to kind of follow his orders and do kind of what he suggests. And 3, the other side thinks that he's a complete idiot that didn't even play in the game. That's a deadly trio of characteristics. Nicole several times has told Joseph, said, "Dan, you got to start playing the game. You can't just float around here the whole time." If she only knew, right? Now, I think they're onto him. I think I saw some people getting a little upset with him and this and that. Yeah, eventually people are going to realize what's going on. But I feel like Joseph's done a pretty good job so far. And to think that he was an alternate, how different would the game have been if instead of Joseph, you had, what was his name? Marvin, I think. Marwin. I can't remember. The guy that has muscles. Yeah, that guy was, if you haven't seen videos of Marwin who was getting ready to be on here, that guy was something else. He is a beast. I don't know how he would have done gameplay and all that. I think he was a recruit, so maybe not so much strategic wise, but he would have been right up there with the guys in the pound. I'm sure of that. So yeah, I don't know, but yeah, it's exciting. My winners picks definitely have changed a little bit, as they should. Yeah, it's really unfair for us to make any kind of judgments on these house guests based on a 5-minute video and a biography, but we do it anyway because that's part of Big Brother. All right, Mark is saying, is Nicole going home? And Kate Russell saying Nicole is going to explode by Thursday. Yeah. Well, first of all, is Nicole going home? That's the plan, right? But we see how quickly these things change. Last night, I was sitting there watching these live feeds all night long. And I was thinking, God, this is kind of a boring night. There's not a lot going on, really. But all of a sudden, 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I start hearing this little mention. I think Brittany's the first one that brought it up, said, do we really want to send out Nicole? Maybe we just keep the veto noms the same and send out Alyssa. It seems safer and easier. And the next thing you know, within an hour, they've convinced each other that they're going to not use a veto and boot out Alyssa instead. So these people, they can change on a dime, which isn't bad. I mean, you got to be flexible in the house. You have to be careful because I just feel like they started getting a little too cute last night. And fortunately, and I'm not sure it's anyone inside this alliance that shut that down. It actually was Daniel. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, spoiler alert for those who missed my earlier deal. They had the veto ceremony today. Daniel and Kyle did use the veto. I say they both did. Daniel used the veto. He pulled Indy and Alyssa off the block so that Taylor and Nicole could go up instead because they think they've got enough votes to keep Nicole in the house and Taylor home. It was an amazing strategy of reverse psychology that I don't think Monty and the leftover alliance really intended to do. It's just Daniel saw through Monty's desire to use a veto, and so he just decided to not use a veto, and so Daniel just decided to do it just because he knew something was up and he didn't want to be working with Monty. So yeah, the short answer to your question is I think Nicole is going home on Thursday. Now, if y'all remember I guess it would have been Wednesday night, Nicole went up to the HOH room and she had that long, heartfelt conversation with Terrence about, hey, I love you. I thought it was going to be you and me to the very end, and it just breaks my heart that I'm having to say goodbye. But Terrence, the votes just aren't there. I just need to tell you that. And Terrence kept the stiff upper lip and said, yeah, I know. I gave it the good fight and all that. I so hope that come Wednesday night, Terrence grabs Nicole and says, hey, Nicole, can we come upstairs? I got to talk to you a little bit. Takes her up at the HOH room and says, Nicole, the votes just aren't there. I hate for you to leave, but I thought it was going to be you would be the final two, but you're not even making jury, Nicole. What do they call it? Karma? Irony? Something, a whole lot of something's there. Wouldn't that be fun? I don't want to be judgmental. I don't want to be vindictive. These house guests are all playing the best game that they can play. But sometimes, as I've said before, I don't want to see people overconfident. And Nicole certainly has been guilty of being a wee bit overconfident inside the house. So, yeah, I think she may be paying the price for that. She may be getting a chance to say a proper hello to Amira because she was so upset that she didn't get to say a proper goodbye. Well, you're going to get a chance to hook up with Amira a lot quicker probably than you anticipated, Nicole, I think. But again, we've got till Thursday. And as far as Nicole exploding, she's very passionate about her game and her place in the house, right? I don't know. We do have another, 3 days until veto or until the live eviction. She's either just going to keep ramping it up, or at some point, if she sees the writing on the wall, maybe she chills it down a little bit and enjoys the last day or two in the house. But it may be a little intense for the next few days. All right, Julia Shepard. Does production ever comment on people's behavior? Not really. Now, I've only got my season to go off of, right? So I can't say for certain. I had heard, and I heard the same rumors y'all have, that sometimes this season, other seasons, that people get called in and maybe suggestions made that, hey, you maybe need to tone it down, or people aren't so receptive and all that. But the only behavior I ever saw called out during my season was, y'all know that if you sing, if you hum, if you talk about production, there's all these things that cause the live feeds to cut away sometimes, and sometimes, and when you do that, Big Brother will come over the speakers, stop singing, things like that, right? I mean, we hear that on the live feeds. Well, there was a time or two during my season where Big Brother came out and said, all right, guys, here's the thing. The live feeds are getting cut out way too many times because y'all aren't following the rules. If you don't start following the rules, at some point, you're going to have penalties of being a have-not, or if it got really extreme, you could have penalty votes, penalty nominations. We were told once or twice that you need to do a better job of following the rules. And so we as a group were called out just for not playing nice with the live feeds. Now, I later found out that maybe that's told to a whole lot of house guests every season. Maybe there's a little reminder thrown out there once or twice. Just to try to make behavior a little bit better. I usually did pretty well at it. Every once in a while I'd whistle or something, but for the most part, I probably got called out a little bit more for talking about production. Never serious. And it was just, it's so easy to say, diary room, and all of a sudden you think, I wasn't supposed to talk about the diary room sessions, but that's the only behavior I ever saw called out during my season. But yeah, I've heard that every once in a while, if things get really rough, maybe they'll make a little mention. My guess is, and this is just a guess, but my guess is it may not be so much someone in the diary room saying, hey, you idiot, why are you behaving like this? It's not going over well. I have a feeling it's probably a little bit more of a persuasive thing saying, hey, have you ever thought how America may be receiving your comments about so-and-so and so-and-so? Does it worry you? They may hint around a little bit without actually coming out and saying something. But I don't know for certain because I just did never witness it personally. So we've got that. All right, let's see. Sydney saying, if you were in the house, who would you align with? Well, I think it'd have to be Brittany and Michael and Taylor and Terrence, I think. I mean, it's the underdogs. I went into my season knowing that I probably was going to be an underdog because I just stood out from everyone. Because of my age, I knew that I wasn't going to be one of the cool kids. And so I figured I wanted to get in and try to be part of the big alliance. Better to be in it than not in it when it comes down to it. But I knew that I probably was going to not be right there in the middle of that for the first bit of the season. So I knew I was coming in as an underdog, and I think underdogs sometimes gravitate together when they can. I think Brittany and Michael, that happened with them. Nicole, myself, Ovi, no one expected us to do anything. So we kind of saw kindred souls in each other, and so we teamed up. So I would do the same thing if I was in the house this season. I would probably find the people who maybe were having a tough time of it right off the bat and join up with them and see if we could do something with it. And here's the other thing, and this is, I guess, the sneaky side of me. If you join up with people like that, sometimes it's about survival. If you're the underdog, sometimes you just have to make sure that you last a little bit longer than other people until those big alliances implode. And so sometimes you join up with the underdogs, and you just hope that, hey, we'll watch out for each other. But if something does happen, hopefully I also have some relationships with the other side that'll keep me alive just a little bit longer than the other people in here. Now we've been fortunate. We saw the flip, so we didn't have the steamroll we had during my season, and I love seeing it. I'm a huge fan of the leftovers. The problem is that leftover alliance isn't going to last forever, right? I don't think there's any chance that we get that final 7 as the final 7. I just don't see it. I think at some point you're going to get out the big targets. You're going to get out Nicole and Daniel and Jasmine, and eventually you're going to have a couple of people still left that aren't in alliance. And the people who feel like they may be at the bottom of the totem pole within the leftover alliance, they're going to start trying to grab those people and see if they can flip numbers around a little bit. Because right now, do y'all remember season 12 had the brigade, and that was Enzo and Lane and Hayden, and I can't remember who else was in there. But anyway, so there were like 4 strong guys that were part of the brigade. I kind of see that with the Pound this season, with Monty and Joseph and Kyle and Turner, kind of as this year's brigade. And I can see them continuing to think, at least, that they're in control of that alliance, with Brittany and Michael and Taylor maybe not feeling as much part of the team. Yeah, if they can grab Terrence and maybe grab whichever one of the girls is left, they may not wait until they're the only 7 left before they try to do something. I just don't see that alliance lasting forever, which is okay. Yeah, every house has to have a villain. Every season has to have a villain. As much as I love the leftovers, I don't know if I want to see them make it to their very end. I want to see some struggles within that group as well. And we're going to get them. I guarantee we're going to get them. All right, Christy Kozar. Besties has brought some interesting strategies. You're right. And not only just interesting, but different strategies. This whole idea that if I team up as a duo with my worst enemy, then they can't put me on the block because I'm linked to the hip with them. What an incredibly different and unique position to look at, which makes me think, if we went back when they first had to choose their besties, festies all over again, who would do it differently? Michael chose Brittany, and Brittany at the time was saying, I don't know if that was so smart or not. Monty chose Joseph. Both of them have been a little hampered by that because they know that they're vulnerable because they've got someone else within their alliance that's on the team with them. They really both should have probably picked someone outside the alliance, and then you would have had something a little bit more like the cookout last year, where every person in the alliance had their little side person that if they go on the block, just vote out the side person. That would have worked a little bit better. But at the time, I didn't know the best way to play it either. So yeah, it's brought out, I think it's brought out a lot of new ideas and forced people to really think their strategies back through again. And yeah, I like seeing it. I absolutely do. I'm a little curious to see what happens with this next week on Thursday with the strategy. Last week, Terrence survived after we went home. Oh, Amir went home. It's so quick. You forget that stuff. Amir went home. Terrence was left. So then he had to join one of the other duos. I don't know that's going to happen again this week. I can't imagine. Let's say that Taylor is left. Nicole goes home. Are they going to say, Taylor, you can join any other duo except for the one that already has 3 people? Maybe. And if that's the case, does she join Indy and Alyssa? Maybe. So, to kind of attach herself to them. But it may also be, and I've heard talk about this, that they may say, okay, Taylor, now you've got the option. There's this group of 3 over here. One of them's going to be your new bestie, and she'll choose between Terrence and Joseph and Monty. And so they'll go back to all duos again. I don't, just that one little change from one option to the other could completely change the strategies going forward in this game. And no one knows. I kind of like, I like it. I like a little uncertainty in this game. All right. Zachary, Lori Matson, and Silvaria 928. Let's see. My first in the jury would be Jasmine, just for the comedy alone, or Indy. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Indy would be another fun one because she's talked about how she just came here to have fun. This Big Brother house, this isn't fun. I came here to have a fun summer. She said, we just need to let everyone stay in the house till the end, and then let America pick, which is kind of the way they do it in other countries. So yeah, Indy would be fun, just stuck over there alone. Jasmine, definitely. Lori saying she would starve. Yeah, you know what? I have a feeling when you're hungry enough, you can get that old foot working a little bit better. And Silvari 928, Jasmine would have to cook for herself. Would she? Or would there be some poor production assistant over there that finally told the producer, said, look, we can't let her die of starvation while she's in the jury house. Let me go get a cookie or a hamburger or some chicken wings for her. Probably some chicken wings. Yeah, I think once she's away from the cameras and everything else, Jasmine will be fine. But, it's tough. I definitely think she's been milking this injury just a little bit, right? Just a little bit. I know she was truly injured. It looked horrible. It looked swollen when it first happened, but I know people who've had hip replacement surgeries that have been back on their feet a lot faster than Jasmine is right now. So, yeah, and I gotta say, when I was in the house, I tore my calf muscle, and it was a serious injury for me too. I was limping around there, and some of those comps just killed I was miserable, killed my leg. I spent so much time trying to ice it and elevate it and everything else, but somehow I was still able to move around the house a little bit. And but I also milked mine just a little bit because I knew that if people thought that not only is he old, but he also has an injury, can barely walk, then maybe that would save me for another week or so. I don't know if it made a difference. Did it make a difference when Kat and I were both on the block after OTEV and all that? Probably not, because I think Tommy and his group wanted Kat gone anyway. But them thinking that I maybe was a little injured, maybe it helped them a little bit think that I wasn't that strong a threat from competition standpoint. So I kind of get the strategy of it, but I feel like Jasmine's kind of overutilized it at this point in time, and she's going to just start making, I know the viewers are a little perturbed at it. I got to say the people inside the house are upset. Did y'all see? If not, it's been on Twitter. I was laughing about it. She was scooting down the stairs just like a 3-year-old. You say, don't walk down the stairs, just scoot on your rear end so you don't fall or anything. Jasmine is scooting down the stairs, and she's got the blanket wrapped around her, and she's got the sunglasses on. And I think it was Michael at one point who said she reminded him of that Bernie Sanders meme. Y'all know the one where he's sitting there all huddled up in the chair and said, yeah, she looks just like the Bernie Sanders meme as she's coming down the stairs. And Bonte at one point looked over at her while he's just sitting there eating. Didn't help or anything else. Just looked over there and said, keep on scooting. You'll get warmed up. So, yeah, I think even the house guests inside the house are starting to laugh a little bit about it. So now here's the big question for you. Who spends more time laying on the beds, laying in a horizontal position? Jasmine or Big D from last season? I think she's giving him a run for the money. But all seriousness aside, or comedy aside, I guess, I hope her ankle's better. I hope it doesn't affect her in terms of future competitions. She's not going to do too well on that wall comp if she's got the scooter piled up there next to her. She needs to get on her feet before too long. All right. I love her. As much as I sometimes make fun of her, I laugh every time she's on the screen. Most of the time. Window Wendy saying, Joseph and Kyle are so smart and the house thinks they're not. I know. That's the beauty of it, that people have underestimated them. And it's kind of like when you go into school as a school kid and you spend the first couple of weeks being the perfect little angel for your teacher. And after that, you kind of can get away with a whole lot more. I may be speaking from a little bit of experience. I did that a little bit. if you are perfect when you first start, you can get away with a little bit more afterwards. I feel it's the same way with Joseph and Monty as well. Is that they no one looked at them as this huge strategic threat. They were just there having fun, joking around, just doing silly stuff. And so no one's now taking them seriously. Your preconceived bias, Nicole especially, she's so certain that she read these guys correctly, and no one wants to admit that they're wrong. After you've made an assumption about someone, no one wants to have to come back later and say, that's completely wrong in the way I assumed that person was going to be. And so as a result, she assumed that he was kind of a goofball, and now she just refuses to change her mind. And she's going to pay the price for it. Because, y'all realize we've got a hypnotherapist. We've got 2 attorneys in this house. I saw Michael looking at Joseph at one point last night. And Joseph, as he's doing this, and he's very logical in his approach. And as an engineer, I appreciate that. He's just laying out, we've got to do this, this, this. We've got to worry about this, this, and this. You can just see in his head that he's got all these bullet points of things he wants to hit on. And I just saw Michael look at him. I just feel like maybe Michael's thinking there's more to this guy than just a personal trainer. Something's going on with Joseph. One attorney may be a little easier to figure out the other attorney. I feel like Michael just needs to just randomly throw out some Latin phrase or something and see if Joseph picks up on it. And if he does, then it may give him a little hint about what's going on. All right. Myra Garcia. Does production tell a house guest happy birthday when the feed's cut? Nah, they didn't with us. During my season, we had house guests. We had Kimmy and Jack, who both had birthdays on the same day. So we found birthday cake mix for each of them. We cooked 2 separate cakes. We sang happy birthday, but I don't remember production ever doing anything out of the ordinary other than providing the special supplies for the cake itself. They didn't say, hey, Kimmy, hey, Jack, happy birthday. Yeah, they didn't do any of that. It gave us the cake supplies, and that was it. Now, we had Pop TV, which was the Big Brother After Dark for an extra couple hours. And so, every once in a while, they would give us extra supplies, giant beer pong for the backyard or Jenga towers, things like that. So we sometimes got little extra stuff that Big Brother would give us to try to just get us to do something a little less boring in terms of activities and such. So we had some of that, but in terms of Big Brother ever calling out people or anything like that, we never had that. Here's what did happen in the house. People may not realize. You always hear, Big Brother saying, stop singing, don't talk about production, all of that. It was always fun. Every once in a while, Big Brother, obviously they're listening to everything. And every once in a while, someone would make some kind of comment and Big Brother do something, and Big Brother would push some button that they don't normally have happen. I remember, for example, I think Mickey dropped the coffee pot one time, and the coffee pot just exploded in a million pieces in the kitchen. There's just glass everywhere. And we heard a Big Brother phrase that we'd never heard before, and it was, "You've got to be kidding me." And so that we all laughed. I was like, oh man, Big Brother's a little mad about that. Sounded a little bit upset. So we had that. And then every once in a while, I know one time Mickey was talking about in the backyard and saying some bird had landed right next to him and wouldn't even fly away when he moved over or something. And he said, "We don't have the smartest birds in this house." And then I responded right back saying, "Man, I don't think we have got the smartest house guest either." And all of a sudden, the voice of Big Brother from above, from the speakers, we heard a zing. And we laughed. It's like, yeah, okay. I told a joke that Big Brother liked enough to actually give an official zing to it. And every once in a while, someone would do that in the house. Someone would make some kind of comment, and you'd hear throughout the house, zing! And so that just kind of brightened our day. Something a little different that we got to deal with. So that's what Big Brother did that we found kind of exciting, much more than any birthday or anything like that. All right, Tommy Savage saying, do they ever limit what you can freely discuss in house politics, for example? No. I would guess there's some topics that if you got into that you'd be an idiot to talk about in the house, and they maybe would call you out or something. If it's just illegal activities, something, I don't know, horrible stuff. Why would anyone do that? But no, if you want to talk politics in the house, go for it. I wouldn't. I love talking politics, but why would you ever bring something up that is going to divide half the house, no matter what you do? So there's certain topics that I avoided just because I didn't think it was good gameplay. But no, Big Brother never said. I'm trying to think. I don't think they ever said don't talk about it. The only thing they said don't talk about was things involving gameplay itself. They didn't want us to talk about our diary room session because then if they allowed you to talk about what was said in the diary room session, then if you refused to talk about what was in your diary room session, people would start getting suspicious and everything. So they just had a blanket rule. You can't talk about what we talk about in the diary room. You can't talk about production type stuff, in terms of, I don't know, little things like if production say veto competition is going to be in the next hour. You all need to start getting ready. We get little instructions overhead every once in a while for things like that. Nothing having to do with production with the diary room. But other than that, if you want to talk about goofball stuff, talk about it. They weren't going to stop you. They probably encourage it because they know it's going to be so divisive. It's going to create drama and chaos and everything else. So now, anything you want to talk about, go for it while you're in there. Just most of us know better. Most of us, not everyone, most of us. All right. Christopher Dawson. Who do you think will be the first leftover to go? My guess is Michael. I could see that. I don't know. Yeah, I could see Michael. And the question is, would the first person go because someone outside the alliance got an HOH and put two people up? And if that's the case, then yeah, I could easily see Michael going if he and Brittany are put up. So I think that's a very good guess. If they get a little bit further and it's more inside the house trying to pick each other off, maybe it could still be Michael. Yeah, I'll say Michael or maybe Turner. I mean, I like Turner. I need to go back and look at my preseason cast assessment. I bet I didn't probably have Turner ranked real high. He misled me a little bit. Well, he didn't mislead me. I just am guilty of assuming and making stereotypes. His longer hair and talk about owning a thrift shop and living in a van for a while. I probably thought he was going to not really fit in with some of these other folks, and because I know I didn't have him ranked real high. Guy's kind of growing on me. I like him. He's laid back. He doesn't act like things really bother him that much, and yet he seems like he's got a real heart and really cares about people, and I like that. So, but having said all that, unfortunately, I could maybe see if someone has to be sacrificed from the pound group, Turner could perhaps be it. So I don't know, but I think Michael's a pretty good guess. All right, the Blue Bacon. I like that login name. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone that's going into the house? Well, for personal experience, whisper. Learn how to whisper. Don't talk at the top of your lungs because there's people that are eavesdropping everywhere. But from a more general standpoint, and I think we've seen some of this already, you got to be patient in this house. You've got to realize that no matter what happened last week, it could be completely different next week. There are people that are playing this game so hard, making so many commitments and promises, and yeah, they're making maybe some friends, but they're also just creating a lot of enemies because they're playing so hard. And maybe enemies is too strong a word, but they're making a lot of people suspicious of them just because they're playing too hard in the beginning. We're only on day 27, and we got 82 days, I think, left this season. It's a long time left to play in the game. And so, yeah, I think a lot of former house guests would come in saying, you just have to chill, don't let the stresses get to you. Don't get so paranoid at the very beginning because it's going to get a whole lot worse before it gets better. Now, the other thing I would probably advise, in addition to just being patient and not so sometimes aggressive with gameplay, is you got to be flexible. You can't hold grudges inside the Big Brother house because when you do, you're missing things. I think Nicole and Daniel are guilty of that. They're still so focused on wrongs that were committed against them last week or a few weeks ago, or the people know they can push their buttons just by saying, hey, as long as we say, let's get out Taylor, Daniel and Nicole will be all on board. It's kind of their weak spot. So you can't hold those grudges because the person that you were absolutely trying to get out week number 1 may be the person that you need to save your own rear end on week number 2. So you've got to be willing to kind of water under the bridge, let bygones be bygones, recognize that some of what people are doing, it's not personal. It shouldn't be personal, at least. Sometimes it is. But for the most part, it's a gameplay. It's not personal. I think a lot of these house guests need to realize that once you get to a new week with a new HOH, it might not be bad to approach some of these other people and say, look, we may not have been on exactly the same side last week, but I like you as a person and conditions have changed. And please don't take what I was saying or doing last week as some kind of gospel truth about now what I feel and want to do this week, because everything's changed. And I think you just have to have that bit of flexibility. And if you do that, you can surprise some of the other people as well. Look, for example, Monty and Taylor. Yeah, now Monty was as guilty as anyone that first week of kind of really going targeting Taylor and really just putting the focus on Taylor. And remember, Taylor said, I want Monty out of here, man. He spun what I said around and just made everything horrible for me. They were not on the same side, right, in week number 1. And yet now, coming into this week, they're the same alliance. At least each other's face. They at least have a working relationship and have figured things out, and I hope have some respect for each other. Now, after today, Monty putting Taylor and Nicole back up on the block, I'm still worried that Nicole doesn't really feel like she's absolutely getting the honest truth from everyone else. I still feel like there's a part of her that may feel like she's being played, and I don't know how that'll translate to her relationship with Monty, but I think they're an example of someone who started off on opposite sides, who have figured out a way to work together because it benefits both of them. So you got to be flexible inside that house. All right, Ma saying Jasmine making Zingbot would be interesting, but I want her gone. For a lot of these house guests, when Zingbot comes along, it's not going to be a 5-minute episode. They might as well just say a 3-hour Big Brother special episode. Zingbot goes to town. Yeah, the jokes just write themselves, right? I mean, Lord, you could go on and on with some of these house guests and some of the jokes that they're going to be able to make. So I hope that's the case. Let me say this. Zingbot, I like the idea of coming in and roasting house guests because you shouldn't take yourself so seriously in there. And some people need a little bit of a reality check on a reality TV program of someone coming in and saying, yeah, maybe you're not quite as big and important as you think you are. So I like the idea of being roasted. But having said that, my favorite roast are when Zingbot makes fun of the way someone plays the game or behaves. I don't like when Zingbot comes in and makes fun of a person for their size, their age, their I don't know what, you know what I mean. I feel like Zingbot takes the low road sometimes and just goes after someone. For me, they talk about my voluptuous figure and all. Well, whatever. I'll own it. I don't care. But some people would have taken that a lot more seriously and been a little more hurt. Don't go after the personal or the physical attributes. Go after their behavior or something. So, but yeah, Zingbot's got a lot to make fun of this season. Megan Herrick saying, love that they haven't clocked Michael as being part of the leftovers. How do they not catch that, right? I know. It's just a blind spot for some of these house guests. And Daniel and Nicole, I mean, at one point, they still thought, now it may not be the case now, at one point, they thought Michael and Brittany were still on their side when they're counting the votes and everything else. I think Daniel at one point finally said, yeah, Michael, we don't have his vote. So they don't necessarily see them as being always on their side, but I love the fact at one point that I think Amira, so it was before the eviction, Amira went in the backyard and saw all the leftovers sitting around outside talking together. And she came back saying, yeah, it's just all those guys. And she named them out. And Daniel said, well, they're not going to be talking strategy. There's no way they're talking game talk. You're underestimating people and you're paying the price. So yeah, that's when Amira made that comment, said, yeah, it's just all of them out there, just the leftovers that are all. Producers had to love it when she said that, right? But yeah, you underestimate people. People are underestimating Michael. I think Daniel and Nicole just see a guy who maybe is a comp beast, but kind of socially awkward. Who wants to have the socially awkward guy in your alliance? Well, I do. I'll take him. Y'all realize no one has won veto. Well, I take that back. I was going to say no one has won veto except for Michael. Well, that changed on Saturday because Daniel and Kyle won it. But let's put it this way. Michael has won every single veto competition that he's participated in, right? Yeah. So he's doing pretty well. All right, Becca Wernz. I think Michael is the most protected when it comes to his relationships with the rest of the house. Let me think about that for a second. You're probably right. And I don't know what the difference is. Amira had relationships everywhere across that house. It just seems like every alliance that existed, she was in it, right? So she had a lot of connections. Hers was just a spider web, but she almost was guilty of having so many connections that once people started looking at her and seeing how those spider webs went out, they realized that maybe they weren't so special. And I think that was one of the things that cost Amira, plus just underestimating the other side. But with Michael, I just feel like it's different because even people who he may not be on the same side with, let's throw out an Indy, for example, or Terrence or something that maybe on the face of it don't look like they're the types of connections, but he's respectful to people, he's nice to people, and I think that even the people who don't feel like they're a tight working game relationship with him still like him. It's like, well, why should I get rid of Michael? Now, consider that he's won all these vetoes and people are still not putting him at the top of the list in terms of targets to send out the door. So, yeah, I think Michael is just, he plays the game maybe the way it really needs to be played, of be a nice person, be friendly to people, let everyone enjoy having you in the house. Don't make anyone ever say, God, I wish if he just leave, this house would be a little bit better. You think there may be one or two people in the house that there's a lot of people saying that if we could just get rid of this one person, everyone would just feel a little more comfortable. Yeah, I think there's probably 3 or 4 like that in the house. But Michael, everyone, even if you think he's a dangerous threat, I don't think anyone's saying, I can't stand the guy, I'm ready to get him out of here because of that. No, everyone likes Michael. And I think that's probably the way the game needs to be played. Be nice, be friendly, let everyone like you. They still may vote you out because you're a threat or the way things work or whatever, but at least it's based on that and not because they just think you're a jerky person. So, yeah, I think Michael's got a lot of connections. The biggest threat against him is just going to be if people say, we got to get rid of him now because he's shown that he's such a comp beast. And that could come back and hurt him a little bit in the end. But if you're going to get booted out, there's worse reasons for you to get booted out, right? All right, Angie saying, how different is the game, or how different the game is strategy to win the game versus strategy of winning America's favorite player? That's interesting, Angie, because I'll say that while I was in the house, I was always aware my primary goal was always to win the game, right? And if it came down to it, I'll cut someone loose or do whatever. But there is something to be said for not necessarily wanting to alienate people outside the house. So, yeah, it's a little hard. And I'll think of it like this. There were 1 or 2 people during my season, like Sis. I thought Sis must have 1 million Instagram followers based on some of the stories she told and all that. I thought, oh my gosh, she's got a huge fan. She's right up there with Frankie Grande or something in terms of popularity outside this house. And so I do remember thinking, if I get on the block or if I get HOH and I put her up, are people going to hold it against me? Is that going to maybe affect how people receive me out there? And it never really became an issue because I put up Jack and Mickey instead, never got a second chance. But yeah, there's little things like that where you do in the back of your head, you've got this little thought of, if I do this, is America going to like me or hate me, or is that going to change? I'll tell you, one of the biggest areas was when it was that final 5, when we were having to decide between Holly and Tommy and who we wanted to send home. Because I truly felt, and I mentioned it to Tommy before, I said, Tommy, I think you're right up there with America's favorite player. I truly think that people are probably going to love you. And so I remember sitting there thinking that, oh my gosh, if I send out Tommy over Holly, there's going to be people upset. All the Tommy fans out there are going to be upset with me. Is that going to affect, my perception, how I'm received by the viewing public and everything? And the thought crossed my mind. But at the end, I said, no, I can't worry about that. I've got to make the move that I think is going to help me win the game the most, which meant sending Tommy out the door, keeping Holly. I'll stand by that decision. I still will. Even though I know people have called me out for it and everything, but that was a decision made trying to win the game as opposed to maybe making a decision that I thought the American public would appreciate the most. Go back to my HOH. I could have easily flipped after promising Christy that, I would put up Bella. I could have turned around and put her up instead. And I know if I'd done that, the people watching on TV would just have meltdown. Loved it, cheer me on, King Cliff and all that. Of course, I would have gone home the next week. It would have been horrible for my game, but there were certainly times I knew Mickey probably wasn't the most loved person in that cast, as opposed to someone like Tommy. But at the end of the day, I was playing the game to win. But you think about that in the back of your head, a lot of us do. I think we do. 7:56, so quick. All right, Lori Madsen. Michael can slide into any conversation. I agree. He's pretty good. A lot of these house guests have gotten pretty figured out how to just have this extra little topic that they can be talking strategy. As soon as someone walks in, they're throwing the extra conversation, non-game talk in there, and you'd think they were talking about ketchup on burritos for the last 30 minutes or something. So they're pretty good about it. But yeah, Michael's pretty good. I mean, considering that he's kind of came in as a socially awkward person, and I've seen so many situations where he just kind of comes over, stands in a corner, and just watches and doesn't do a lot. But then I'll also look up, and Nicole and Daniel are down in the Jetsons room, and Michael's just in there leaning against the cabinet, and they're telling them all kinds of stuff, and he's just agreeing with them and laughing and everything. And I think people, if they don't see you as a threat, you almost become a bit of a ghost in there. They'll talk all around you and not think so much about it because they're so focused on the people that they think are most after their game. And yeah, I think people enjoy they don't have a problem with him being in there. They underestimate him, and so they'll give more information than they need to. And Michael, being a super fan, he just takes it all in. He processes it in that brain of his and spits out a solution. Between him and Joseph Neos, I'm just loving this season. But I got to say, you talk about Michael just kind of sliding in and all of that. Did y'all see? It was late last night. It was just hilarious. My favorite part of the whole evening, I think. The rest of the leftovers are upstairs in the HOH room. They've made this decision that maybe they're going to send out Alyssa, not change the veto, send Alyssa out the door instead. But Monty, as he should, says, look, we got to clear this with Kyle. I mean, we're talking about sending out the girl who wants to be his showmance. Let's talk to Kyle first and see what he thinks. Well, meanwhile, Kyle's down there with Alyssa in the car bedroom, and they're flirting around a little bit, and Kyle can't shake Alyssa. I mean, she's just, wherever Kyle is, Alyssa is. And so eventually Michael goes down there to kind of break him up a little bit. Well, the next thing you know, Alyssa and Kyle are heading into the kitchen, and everyone is upstairs saying, oh, don't come up to the HOH room. No, Alyssa can't come up here, so we're all leaving. No. Well, they turn towards the outdoors, and as soon as they do that, everyone says, yeah, go outside. That's good. We'll break them up there. And next thing you know, they're saying, Michael, go break it up. Go break it up. And so you end up with Kyle and Alyssa on the hammock in the middle of the night. They're the only ones there. Yeah, if you're talking about love is in the air and all that, I'm sure Alyssa thought, perfect opportunity. Get him out here under the stars, swinging on a hammock, and we'll do a little courting and a little wooing and all of that. Well, Alyssa does a lot of courting and wooing, but I'm sure she thought she had it all perfect. And here comes Michael just sliding into the scene and then pulling up one of those beanbag chairs and sitting there right with them and having the conversation. Alyssa didn't say anything to him, but she didn't need to. You could just see it in her face. And Michael was there breaking up any chance of romance and everything. It worked. They called it pretty quick after that and headed upstairs. I got to have the conversation with Kyle. But yeah, I was wondering, why is Michael out there interfering with the showmance? Well, now I know. And it was great. It was classic. All right, 8 o'clock. All right, we're going to finish this up pretty quick. Let's see. Rex Loves You. I like that name. Does Big Brother tell you when to go to sleep or wake up? They tell us when to wake up. If you want to stay up all night long, go for it. I have a hard time doing that. But here's the rule. You have to stay up until at least 10 o'clock at night, right? And then in the morning, you would have to wake up either at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or 10 o'clock in the morning, based on what was going on that particular day. If there wasn't anything going on, usually we'd be up at 10. If there was a competition going on, then you'd get up an hour earlier at 9. If there were two events going on, like a veto pick and then the veto competition, so two separate things, then they'd wake you up at 8. Ovi is the one who figured that out in our season. He finally said, if there's two things, they'll wake us up at 8. So 8, 9, or 10. And the way they wake you up is the speakers come on, they play 3 songs, Just standard modern day music or whatever, just to get you up to speed. The feed's cut off, but that's there to get us energized. We all go change out the batteries that are kept in the storage room, the batteries for our microphone packs, and we just kind of start moving around and all of that. For some people who wouldn't wake up after the 3 songs, you get a little Big Brother. One of the voices you hear, one of the buttons is house guest, wakey, wakey. It's time to get up and things like that. So sometimes, you get that. So they would wake us up in the morning. At night, stay up as long as you want. They don't really care at all. All right. Let me finish it off. Jeff Burt says hi. Brother from another mother. My favorite, best friend in the entire world. Out in California now. Hey, Jeff. I hope you're doing fantastic, man. Hope you're doing well. So howdy to Jeff Mertz. We're going to shut it down. But before we do, let me just say one more time. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. If you haven't turned on notifications, I'd appreciate that. And if you haven't gone out and given a thumbs up to the broadcast, well, I really appreciate that. And it does give me a little warm fuzzy. So thank y'all for that. That's it, guys. We're going to shut it down. But I still do my morning recaps every morning. So check that out if you will. And thank y'all. I love talking Big Brother with y'all. So thank you so much. Cindy, I'm going to send you a link. I'm looking forward to talking to you tomorrow as well. I'll give you all the inside scoop. But guys, y'all have a fantastic Monday. Have a fantastic rest of the week. Big old SKD 143 to all y'all. Love my wife, love my kids, love all the reality fans out there, especially y'all too. So guys, y'all have a great one. Cheers, my friends. Bye.